Good afternoon, everyone. Hello, I am your coach, B.Von Squires, and today we are sponsored by Spirit Source Connection. We believe that you are a multidimensional spiritual being and that you access your supernatural powers through visualization, imagination, creativity, and anything that allows you to connect to your source. Those are our innate gifts, and they've been given to us by the creator. And so today I want to welcome you to the month of May, which is mental health month. And so what we're doing for this month is we are featuring providers who actually go out there and do the work. They do the work. They're in the trenches. They see exactly what mental health looks like on a daily basis. Now, you know, I don't have a doctorate. You know that. You know that I don't have a licensed clinical social worker degree. I am none of those things. But what I am is a miracle, a walking, talking, breathing, healing by the grace of God miracle. And so I have friends that are doctors. And so today I want to introduce you to my friend, Dr. Michael Sullivan Tibbs. He's going to come on and talk to you all about mental health. He's going to also tell you a little bit about who he is. And so with no further ado, can you please help me welcome Dr. Mike? Dr. Mike, thank you so much for being here with us. Would you please say a few words to the community?
First, I want to thank you for inviting me. I feel so honored and pleasured to be here and to share some of the um, experiences that I've had with this topic, mental health. First, I want to say that mental health, unfortunately, has a stigma in our community. Um, and I've experienced that myself. And I'll give you a little background. Um, Being that if you were to break your leg or your arm or something like that, you go to a doctor, they can look at it and they can put staples or sutures, or they can cast it and say, there you go, you're healed, go forth and conquer. But mental health, it's not a tangible thing per se. Um, and so those in the medical field may not look at it the same way they would a broken leg or a broken arm. And that also filters out into the community. You can see little Timmy or little John or little Sam or little Tabitha or Emily or Becky with a broken leg or arm, and you say, oh man, there's something going on, but she or he is being healed. But you never see those when they're walking down the street and they're looking up at the birds or they're listening to the sounds of their community, but they're carrying a major weight. They are pressured by those internal voices that are complex issues in mental health. And let me caveat that when I say complex voices, I'm not saying any diagnosis like a schizophrenia diagnosis or a paranoid diagnosis. I'm talking about this mental health in general, emotional health as well. With myself, um, being a person of color, growing up, I've experienced a lot of things in the community that helped develop a mental health kind of experience. I would also say a traumatic experience. Unfortunately, in our world, we're still dealing with those isms, racism, sexism, homophobia, xenophobia, anything that you can think of that ostracizes a community of people. And in that action of being ostracized, it does affect their mental health, their emotional health. It also affects their connectivity with their social environment. And as I stated before, I've experienced that as a person of color, and that's been unfortunate. Even in today's day, um, I have a doctorate degree. I have 2 master's degrees. I have a bachelor's degrees with 3 majors.
Wow.
And I'm still not given the same respect as a non-white individual who may have less than what I have or equivalent to what I have. And in that space, it creeps up and it causes that mental health. Fortunately, You know, during school, during my clinical degrees, they required us to engage in counseling. Um, it was two-part. One, to feel that experiential um, essence of being vulnerable to someone else and allowing them into that space. I always say I gave them a gift, and that gift is not always pretty wrapped or packaged well, but it's a gift nonetheless because I've opened myself up to allow them to hold that and honor that and respect that, and hopefully try to help me move through the spaces of trepidation that I may have. And the second part is it allowed me to, when I was going through those clinical degrees and those counseling sessions, to look at that provider and try to imagine myself in that space.
Ooh,
At the same time, analyzing my feeling in that moment and whether or not they were reaching me or not.
mm. That is powerful. That is so powerful. Oh my goodness. When you were speaking about being ostracized, it brought back a memory for me, where I was actually ostracized within my home unit,
Mm,
set apart from my siblings and not allowed to engage. Okay. Because I had mental health issues, but no one was able to identify or recognize that was my issue. And so it became punitive at that point, which caused mental health for me. And so I understand that, and it can happen right there in your family. And as you were saying, as it happens in society, and so sometimes the society are just those that are closest in our circle. And then it moves from there out and out of the home and into, the environment. Thank you so much for bringing that up. Also, I really, really like the fact that you were talking about how it was important for you as a part of your curriculum to go through counseling. I always say the best counselors have counselors, and the best practitioners have practitioners. And so the best coaches also have coaches. And so that's where I look and say, wow, you know what? I am on an ever present journey throughout my life, one day at a time. Mental health, from what I understand and from where I sit, I see that it's a lifelong journey full of ups and downs and its own challenges, as you were talking about those challenges, especially when you are in a position and you see your excellence and no one else is able to see that excellence. And so they don't treat you as if you are valued for your excellence, and that in itself can cause mental health, like you were saying. I'm really excited about having you here. And so I want to ask you a question. You talked about stigma. You talked about stigma. And so I would like for you to kind of expound, if you don't mind, on the stigma that men in general face, not so much in our community, in terms of color, but just across the board. Men and their idea and the stigma that is connected to men getting mental health. Oh, that's a woman thing, they say, and it's just not true. It's a
right.
mind thing, and we all have minds, and so we all can benefit, especially if we are suffering and healing our trauma. Can you speak to that, please?
Absolutely, and thank you again. And that's a great question. It's multi faceted and it's complex. And I really want to caveat that because there isn't one quick fix
Right.
answer to those things. But in general, I would say that we all, male and female, and other identified genders, have been pigeonholed to fit certain areas of societal occupancy. Unfortunately, I would say the third gender or those others that are non-binary are having to struggle a lot more. And that would be a topic that warrants more discussion. But for here, I will focus on the historic um, two gendered ideological premises, not to ostracize the other community, but I think they warrant a stage for themselves to really be explored and to be discussed with reverence and respect. And I don't want to disenfranchise them here, but I want to focus on in general that I think would fit that group as well. We are stigmatized, well, not stigmatized, we are ostracized in our communities where we can't do certain things. Males are supposed to be hyper vigilant, strong in every aspect, without emotion. Don't shed a tear. They are the ones that society has created as the hunter-gatherer.
Mm-hmm.
And then our female side of our being is more the, I don't want to say coddler, but the caregiver, the softer,
Mm-hmm.
the one needing support and guidance and help. Now, that's not my belief. I believe everybody embodies all the spectrums of our human existence, masculine, female, and everything in between. Unfortunately, society has created those two sides, and they put us in that. Therein is the cause of the stigma. So if a male is typically going out and expressing with tears and saying, I'm emotionally broken, I'm having some mental health, society is looking at them and saying, wait a minute, this is not what I was taught. This is not what I learned. This is an anomaly. Something must be wrong with you. You're not fitting into this narrative that we all have been created. And then that causes that male to recoil and say, well, maybe something is wrong with me. It's not mental health, it's something else. I'm not fitting into this box that society has created, which we're all contributors to.
Sure.
And then that causes that individual to backstep and not seek help. And that's just an overgeneralization. I don't want to say that's the end all, but that's some parts of it. And
Sure.
the same would be for females. As I stated before, society has created these boxes that they have to put us in and say that women are supposed to be this way. But if a woman comes across as strong, confident, um, self-sufficient, then we began to demonize her and we began to say, oh, there's something wrong with her. Something's wrong with her mind. We then attribute a mental health to the woman who's showing a different type of self-expression in society, which is interesting. But for the males who do that, we don't even consider it mental health. We consider it something else, like a flaw in their character.
Mm. Wow, that was so powerful, so deep. That society would take a look at someone and automatically say, you don't fit the paradigm that I am used to. You do not fit. What happened to your domestication? What happened to you? And as you said, instead of looking at it as a mental health issue, they look at it as a character flaw, which is so shameful to say. You know what I mean? And then on the flip side, I really get the one where the woman is strong and outgoing and self-sufficient and all of those things. Um, I myself, sometimes wonder, okay, I'm so strong, I'm so self-sufficient. Will I be able to allow someone in to do things for me? Will I be able to allow a partner to come in and open my this morning I made myself a smoothie and I couldn't get the top of it open after it had blended. I was tasting the taste of this juice in my mouth and I wanted it open right now, but I did not have the strength to open it. And so I thought to myself, I wish I had a man here to open this for me, but it's not often that I get to feel like I want someone to come in and take care of me and cherish me and all of those kinds of things. And so part of that is I have the freedom and the courage to say, no, no, no. I don't fit in any of your little square pegs. I don't fit in any of those, and have the courage to speak to my higher source and say, who do you say I am? Who did you create me to be? And from there, I was able to go on and say, this is who I am, like it or not. And so by feeling that I am outside of the societal norms, right, it gives me an opportunity to say, hey, I can create something new. I can co-create a life that's worth living and meaningful to me. But not everyone has that gumption. Not everyone has that intuition or that connection with a higher source that gives the power to move into positive action. And so now I segue into my next question for you, please. I am so enjoying this conversation with you today. Look
Me
at that
too.
smile, folks. Look at that smile. Are you kidding me? Okay. So, my next question, what does it take? How important is it to have a spirit source, a power source in your life? And is it necessary to view things from the same vantage point as the next person?
Great questions, twofold. Okay, well, I, I I would say personally, I grew up in the church, um, and not everyone grows up in the church, but many people grow up in the synagogue or the mosque, or they grow up just being respectful of nature, very spiritualistic. I don't think there's a problem with utilizing whomever you believe is your higher being, your creator source, as an attribute or a tool in navigating this world, especially when you're dealing with mental health issues. It's a great hope that there is a being or beings that is beyond the trappings of humanity that
Mhm,
gives us a sense of hope, a vision that, oh, there is something else there, whomever you call it or them, um, is if it gives you strength and it encourages you to put one foot in front of the other, and step forward instead of backwards, and treat yourself with dignity and respect and grace and patience, and do the same for others. I personally don't see an issue with a religious or spiritual or a connection to the universe or higher power. I think those are tools that help us navigate this thing called life.
absolutely. Absolutely. You know, I, from a young child, just as you, I grew up in the church as well. And even got baptized at one time. It was my foundation. But what I found is that the church was not equipped to deal with my mental health. And so, because the church, which is where we were taught to go for all of our needs, whether it's to get a bill paid, whether it's to get married or christen a child, what about the mental health?
You
What
hit a,
about that?
oh, I'm sorry. I
No,
was
go
going to
right
say
ahead.
that was a very powerful statement. The church wasn't equipped to handle my mental health. That is so powerful and so true.
Mhm.
And if I may, I want to speak on that a little bit, not
Absolutely.
to um, degrade the church or anything like
Hmm.
that. But I think the church and those in the church might forget that we are still human with both feet planted on the ground. Yes, we have a connection to our creator spiritually. At the same time, our creator has imbued humans with necessary skills, such as providers in mental health, to help us navigate those challenging situations in our lives. And it is not an antithesis to going to church and having faith and belief. They are not mutually exclusive of one another. I believe they are traditional and commonly beneficial, and they work together. And recently, I was invited to a church to speak on this very topic
Hmm.
about mental health and the church and how they can come together in a happy marriage.
Share it with us.
And when I spoke on it, I talked about different things, and I said that two things can be true at the same time. You can have your spiritual faith and believe, if we're speaking about the Christian paradigm specifically, you can have your belief in our God and pray as what's written in the Bible. At the same time, God sends his angels through people, his messages through others that help guide us. We wouldn't have medical doctors. We wouldn't have dentists. I can go to my pastor and say, this tooth is killing me and I need a root canal. Let's pray that tooth away. My faith says I can do that. At the same time, I'm still in pain. And I don't know when God's going to answer that prayer. Because sometimes people have to realize that that prayer may not be answered immediately. It will still be answered, and it most oftenly is answered in a way that we never thought. And that could be utilizing that dentist.
Thank you so much. I love that analogy. I love that. Oh, yes, I do believe my faith is strong enough, but I am in serious pain. Can we please get me to the dentist?
Right.
And so understanding where to go for what you need is so essential today. It's just really essential. And so that's why I'm really happy about bringing you on our show today for Mental Health Month, is because so many people don't realize that mental health can be your go-to or it can be your supplement. But either way, it has to be a part of your healing. A lot of people will think that, hey, if I just stuff it away, right? Stuff it away, I won't have to worry about it. Just stuff it away and not think about it. Everything else is going to be okay. But what we do know is, yes, time heals things, but there are some wounds that require work and a lot of digging to heal. And so in the meantime, I talk about it in my book, as a matter of fact, The Energy Harvest, which is a spiritual model for the enhancement of your life. I talk about the fact that we have many avenues to finding the help that we need, many avenues, but we just have to take one of them. And work is necessary. You have to get in there and dig around, but it takes a lot of courage. And side by side with a coach or a therapist, anything is possible, right?
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay. Is there anything that you would like to say to the community as we wrap up today's conversation, Dr. Mike?
First, thank you for again inviting me to your platform. I think it's a platform that's needed in a space that people are seeking and searching for help and guidance. And I appreciate that you welcome me here to focus on the mental health component and to talk about, the stigma and then resources and even those in the religious spiritual realm and how we can have two things be true at the same time and that they don't have to conflict with one another to help us move forward. We just have to, as you stated, reach out, take that first step, that step of faith, that step of courage, and move through the journey. And you do have to put in the work. Even in the Christian paradigm, it's written, faith without works is dead. So I would use that as well. Receiving therapy or counseling without your work is dead. We're here as a sounding board. We're here to help you try to see an alternative. We're not here to give answers because many of us truly believe that you already have the answer. It's just standing on that answer and being courageous to move through that answer. But we also listen and let you process multiple ideas, multiple complex thoughts so that you can come to a term and focus on what it is you need to work on and towards. And I think that's where we're good at that. And we're trained to listen actively and to challenge on things to further critical thought. All of those are beneficial and all of those take work. Many times you may leave a session and you're exhausted, mentally exhausted. And that's a physical manifestation of the mental work that you've done. And just to swing back a little bit, mental health may not be like that broken arm or that broken leg, but it does have physiological effects. You do have experiences of feeling panicked, where you're breathing extremely rapid, your heart's beating, your concentration is broken. So we may not be able to necessarily see some of those, characteristics of mental health struggles, but we can't see some of the other ones that are external that the observer can see, such as the breathing, the heart, the movement, the eyes, all of that. So we can tell that someone is experiencing something. We just have to get everyone in our community, providers and lay folk alike, to recognize that mental health is just as important as your physical health.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that powerful, powerful message. It's just as important, just like you say. And I'm so happy to have you on. It's my honor to have you here, Dr. Michael Sullivan Tibbs. And thank you so much for all the work that you do. And yes, thank you so much for enjoying us, or for joining us today. And we did enjoy you. And just as I always say, in the meantime, I'm going to pray and ask God to bless you really, really good. And that thing that you are manifesting, don't give up the faith. Don't stop moving forward. As we know, faith without works is dead. And so if you want to manifest that thing that you're hoping for, get out there and do the work and watch it materialize before your very eyes. Thank you guys so much for meeting me here. It's always an honor to come and bring information that's going to change your life. We don't want to tell you what to think or what to do. We only want to show you what's possible here. And thank you so much for meeting me. And we'll see you next time right here on Spirit Source Connection. Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.